Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav Avni. I'm an energy healer and an alignment coach, and I mainly work with people suffering from chronic pain, chronic illnesses, and unexplained medical conditions. This podcast is really here to bring the message of alternative hope. I hope that people really know that as they can heal with Western medicine, there is also a lot of healing that can be done in alternative methods. So, this is kind of what the podcast is about. And today with me, I have Ann Smets. And so lovely to have you here.
Lovely to be there, Einav. Thank you.
Nice. So before we get properly started, I'm going to just read out your bio so people can be more familiar with who you are and what you do. So let's see. Anne is a highly experienced intuitive energy healer and transformational coach with over 10 years of experience using various healing coaching techniques based on traditional Chinese healing methods. Her ongoing path of self development has enabled her to sharpen her energy field, which allows her to help people remove blockages caused by all kinds of factors. Anne's healing sessions are beneficial for those who suffer from physical pain and loss of energy, burnout, stress, emotional traumas, mental blockages, depression, and even levels of karmic issues where one feels stuck but does not know why nothing is working. Anne has dedicated herself to helping others reach their full potential through the use of various techniques such as integrated energy therapy, Reiki, aromatherapy, sound healing, meditation, along with other holistic approaches that are tailor made to each soul's needs. Wow, and that's incredible. So
Thank you so much.
let's get properly started. Tell us something about yourself.
Yes, Einav. Thank you. And first of all, thank you for the wonderful introduction and also for your initiative for bringing these podcasts out to the world and really raising the awareness that there is more to healing than what people would think with Western medicine. So it's fantastic. And it's lovely to connect with like minded people. So, hello, everybody, to the podcast who is listening. I'm sure we all already have some connection out there energetically. Yeah, so actually, maybe I'll start to tell you where I'm living currently. I am from Belgium, and we recently moved to beautiful Bruges, and this is where I grew up and was born in Antwerp, Belgium. But basically, after my studies, I started to travel the world because my past life, let's say, professionally, was in the hospitality world. And through that, traveling the world, I started to be connected with different lifestyles. And that's really what triggered me after being living in the US, Los Angeles, especially. I discovered the beauty of yoga, working out, the ocean, going for walks and runs. So I started to look into, re educating myself. And that's where I was brought basically to Asia. Initially, I did a yoga teacher training course in Kerala, South India, which I loved. And then a friend of mine said, well, if you like yoga, I'm sure you love Thai massage and all the Eastern techniques out there. I said, oh, yeah. So the next year, I went to Thailand and started studies there. And that was the beginning of a long journey. So for 10 consecutive years, I traveled to Asia for the winter period because I was lucky with my work in tourism. That was our time off. And I went to various schools and really lived the Asian lifestyle, and especially focusing on traditional Chinese healing methods, which then became the base of my now techniques that I still use.
Nice, nice. And so you mentioned in your bio there's all these different healing modalities and but also different things that you are working with people. So people come to you. How do you decide which modality to use?
Yes, a very good question. So initially, we'll have a nice chat and intake to get to know each other. and to see where people at and where they need help. Quite often that can start on a physical level, because that's what people most aware of, and that's what you notice. Let's say one issue that comes up very frequently would be constipation or bloatedness in the belly, because that's also with my modalities in traditional Chinese medicine, one of the specialties I have is healing on the organ level. So we look at lifestyle in general. Let's say someone has problems with the belly, constipation. I will first also look at the lifestyle, the levels of stress. What would the nutrition be, the diet, how much water, how can they sleep? And then I get a whole picture. And then if it's on the remote healing sessions, I would tune in and we do first a nice grounding meditation to raise the frequency of the person I work with, the vibrational field. And then we'll do a healing session, a remote healing session, which is where I have my I actually, with the integrated energy therapy sessions, I work with the healing angels of the EIT. These are 9 energies that come through on healing help. And we tap into the higher dimension frequency field. And in that field, we can work on blockages. And what I often discover is where it starts with belly problems, there is a layer that is more beneath. And so it's like a blockage in the cellular memory where very often emotions are being caught or trapped. And it has a ripple effect. So everything takes time. It's not instant that these physical problems will manifest, but this could be something that happened months ago, years ago. And quite often, if we dig very deep to the core to find the source, it might be even on a karmic level. So that's how layer by layer will release those blockages. And that's how then healing, the body will heal itself. That's the beauty of our body. It's got a self-healing mechanism, basically. And that's how then transformation and change will happen. And this is in a nutshell, because basically what I would like to really make clear here is quite often people don't know how remote sessions can work, because you might be in Australia and I'm here in Belgium. But I'm happy that, especially this year, I noticed listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of articles from renowned doctors and healers and everybody, more and more people starting to talk about this quantum field and the shift of vibrational energy. And that's really what it is. We're all, every physical manifestation on the planet has an essence and a start in the quantum field. It's like energy. And with my studies of Chinese medicine, also the teacher was also always talking about the chi, the energy, or the prana, like the Indian Ayurveda call it. And that's what we all are. We're all a dense energy that starts on a higher dimension in the quantum field, quantum physics. It would be a very long podcast if I go on about this subject, but might be good to do a bit of research privately for the listeners. But basically, if I would like to give a simple example how a healing session would work, would be, let's say you have your remote control from your car, right? So you come out of the supermarket, you click a button, and your car in the parking lot is already unlocking the door, because the frequency of the box finds the right tuned frequency of your car and something happens. And that's exactly what happens during a healing session. Both energy fields meet, and through my sharpened intuition and with the help of the healing angels and helpers of everybody has helpers, guides, healers, maybe angels that will always be around you. And then a healing can happen on a much deeper level. you overcome that first layer of blockages or stress when you're close to a person. So, in fact, I realize now over the experience over the years that remote sessions are much more profound than I work one on one body treatments here in my home practice. So, I don't know if that's a little bit clear.
I know. I have the same thing with my clients, and sometimes they can kind of understand that we do the healing work over the computer. They kind of
Yeah,
it's a little bit out there, but then they understand it. But then sometimes I say to them, "Well, I don't even need you to be on the computer for me to do the healing," and that is really like, wow, how does it
I
work?
know.
Well, it's
Yeah,
actually, it doesn't. I don't need the computer, like you say. You don't need the computer. You work
no.
completely offline. It's really about the connection that is happening a completely different layer. Um,
Yeah, I think it's especially one word that comes to mind here is intention. So on both parties, if your client and you work towards the same intention with the same focus, magic happens, and that's life. But that's something that we really need to bring out more in the world. Like you say, it's like they have this saying, thought your thought is a force. I don't know in English exactly, it's not my mother tongue, but basically what your mind focus on will manifest. So be always wary of what you focus on, because it is true, isn't it?
right, but I actually wanted to touch on that a little bit because I guess a lot of the time when people are suffering from illnesses or pain or things like that, they think this. I hear them say a lot of the time things like, "Well, I went dancing and then after that my I did my back in," or they kind of associate whatever they're experiencing to a starting point, and they are, especially with pain, I guess more than illnesses, that they're kind of more fixated on that, and they really believe that this is it. Now, what you're saying is that there is something slightly deeper than that, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. It's all got to do with emotions, but very often conditions and limiting beliefs, which aren't even coming from our own soul. Pretty When a soul is born, it's in a very pure and loving state and a shining light, and you very often see that when babies are born, their little eyes sparkle and they're kind of in a world of their own, and I like to call it fairy world, and it's my favorite world to turn back to as well. But so basically studies have done that when a child is born up to age of 7, they also still have that very strong connection with source through our crown chakra. Our chakras are energy fields. But then obviously what happens, it's born within a family. The parents will already have a backpack on with emotions and experiences from their life, and each parent obviously does its mostly best, wants to be the best parent, but subconsciously everybody already has conditions, and I would call it dust on the layers of this pureness, which then obviously is transmitted to a child. And as we grow up, then later we have school with all the regulations, we have our society, we have our countries where we live in, where nowadays is more not allowed than allowed. So all these conditions, I call them, become limiting beliefs. And when that happens, your mechanism, your chi force is being dimmed. And that beautiful light that's mainly focused in our heart starts to become very dim. And in the end, you may get lost. You might not recognize yourself anymore, or you get heavy ideas. You just feel stuck in life. And this is where the guiding hand of a healer like you and so many other colleagues are out there, where we can just hold that hand and go on a journey where the person can rediscover their own inner power and strength and shine that out again. And I believe one message for the new year and the future is that people should be more aware of that by working first on yourself, you shine your light, you bring out the love and energy, it will create a ripple effect for the rest of the world. And I think that's so important these days, not to let us overwhelm with this fear-based society, what's happening, because it really affects your emotions. Then the organs will get out of their healthy state and balance, because every emotion is like a sponge, absorbs a specific every organ, sorry, absorbs a specific emotion. So unconsciously we don't know it's happening, but it happens. And if we're not aware of that, that's when you come to a stage of either chronic pain, or depression, or sometimes burnout, because you just cover yourself, you just focus on work or on something in life, not to be in touch with your own feelings anymore. And yeah, that's what it is. And no one to blame, not the parents, not the society, it's just what's happening. But if we're aware of that, we can work on that ourselves and make sure that's not going to affect us anymore in such a manner. So very often it's on subconscious level and or even karmic level from previous lifetimes. Yeah.
But when you say, you see, because this is one of the main pushback I get from people all the time. They know that they're going through something. They know that it's a
Yeah.
stressful situation, or period, or they know that things are not going so well, or they're very worried about a loved one or something like that. And like yesterday, I was talking with someone as well, and she's basically saying, "I know, I know, I'm holding off the tears because when they get started, I don't know, I'll be able to stop them." So people, we constantly do that. We constantly put our emotions to one side, and actually a lot of the time we're no longer even thinking about it. We don't It doesn't come out to the our conscious awareness. So how is it, how can we process these emotions? How can we change the way that we deal with our emotions at the moment so that they don't end up trapped in our bodies?
Yeah, so exactly, that's a very good question, and that's where obviously a bit of guidance is always helpful. But there's so much out there already on social media and articles, etc. And I think every person has to find a way what best suit them. But what comes to my mind immediately are, for instance, it's all about lifestyle changes, right?
Mm.
So you could try with a little bit of guided meditation, just to try to get that nervous system back in the calm mode, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is constantly triggered by doing a bit of meditation. You will already cool that down again to a lower level of stress. Try that. Does that work? Maybe not, not for everybody, but maybe go and for a walk in nature, make yourself connect again to the elements. It's so important. I love working with essences, flower and plant essences, aromatherapy. There's beautiful like aura sprays where you can spray that in your energy field, where the essence of the plant will help you transform an emotion or whatever. Breathing technique. So this is what I do when I have clients. We try to fine tune what works best, what triggers you to work on yourself, because at the end of the day you have to do it yourself. There is no we're not wizards that can just swipe a stick and it all gonna change instantly. That would be amazing, but very often it's an awareness of a lifestyle change. Not to forget, nutrition is very important. I strongly believe that when you want to be full of energy, radiant, connect back to love, what you put in your body is equally important. um, Look at it as a, let's say you're going to do your laundry, and instead of water you pour coffee in your laundry machine. That's not going to come out clean either. So it's a little bit a combination of everything,
Mm.
where yeah, where little steps, not drastic at the time, but step by step, little lifestyle changes will help that shift that emotion. And then when you shift, you will notice also that your family, let's say your environment will shift. So maybe something that was annoying you from your partner eventually will not happen anymore because you've changed. So that partner will also change. And by magic, then that's a shift. But it takes time and yeah, work on yourself first. I always like to use the example of the airplane. In a long past life, I was an air stewardess as well, and but it's true. The message there is so true with the oxygen mask. First help yourself before you help others and minors, and then that's exactly what we need to do in life, because if it doesn't come first from we it's nature, and I think especially women even more so, our mother instinct, but we always want to help others first. But if we're not in a good place, it's not gonna work. So I think that's very important.
Right. And so tell me, you mentioned earlier that when you do your remote healing sessions, you are connecting with, of course, with the other person's um, field, and also you get some guidance from healing angels and
Mhm.
guides and stuff. So I'm curious how, because I think people, I mean, of course, I had the pleasure of experiencing this, so of course I know that it was very.
Yeah.
I know it was very relaxing, very beneficial, and I definitely felt a lot of things moving and shifting. So I definitely recommend that. But I want to know how how are you how do you explain that to people when you start working with them? As you said, you have the intake conversation about what it is that they needed. How do you know what is going on? How do you get that
Yeah,
this message? How how are you moving forward with that? Not sure if
yeah,
that's
that's a good question, and let me try to give a clear answer, which isn't easy. So, when we do a healing session, usually after the intake, before the session, I always ask if there is a focus, a theme I need to focus on, and I'll take that with me. But then, when working on the energy field, quite often what we're aware of what the focus would be will turn out into a much deeper layered cause. So quite often during the healing sessions, I get like visions. It's a little bit like a sharpened intuition. Some people would call it a you have clairvoyancy, clairaudiency, and just clair knowing, and that's kind of what I get. And sometimes I will see images, but this is not something special, because everybody actually has that. It's just that the tuning in of the intuition, the listening more to the heart, it's getting out of your head and more into your heart. And everybody on planet, we're all connected above and below, so we all have our connection with the universe and down with Mother Earth. And so before a session, I always make sure I'm deeply connected with both, with Mother Earth and with the universe, the highest source, the light where we all originate from. We're all ripples of tiny little fractions of energy, basically. That's where we come from. And then being connected and sitting in meditation before a session, calling in all guardians and guides from myself and from the person I will work with. We have a team around us which we don't see, but I feel them strongly, these energies, and they will work with me. And sometimes I get messages of events that happened in past lives. We have quite often, most of us have we've had cruel past lives where we're not aware of, where we maybe were murdered or stabbed, and sometimes even that old pain can trigger and come up. The good thing is about the session that it's completely safe, and during that session, only the blockage will be released what at that point for the person is ready to be released. So I can't force anything. It's really what the person is now subconsciously, the subconscious mind, the soul is ready to be worked on. Very often I find the element of fear in the kidney area, the adrenal area, where we have stored fear, and that can also cause imbalances in our root chakra, in how we stand in life, and that manifests in maybe either diseases or struggles. Sometimes, when you take, like, you maybe know the feeling, sometimes we take one step back and one step forward, two steps back. So that might be an misalignment there. And yeah, it's just sometimes it's just I don't see anything. That is also a possibility, but I feel a big release, and that's then more on the physical level. Myself, I think a lot of healers will recognize, probably yourself as well, when you release a blockage, which sometimes, a lot of times, healers start to yawn. um, Unfortunately, mine is less elegant. I start to burp. So, with a big burp, that's why it's also often better to do it remotely than when I have patients on the table. I always tell them I apologize, but you'll hear funny sounds. But that's I really, you feel the shift comes out immediately, and that's when the blockage is being released. So that's a little bit what happens for the patient himself on the table or in bed in this case, and you experienced it as well. You say that deep state of relaxation. That's because you actually shift that moment from your 3D reality to your 5D, your quantum energetic field, which already feels like a loving blanket around you. And when working in there, you can feel either things shift in your body. Some people will see visions of when they were children from childhood, or incidents that happened in life, like, I don't know where it came from, but I just saw all these things coming back during the session. So yeah, it can go any every session is different depending on the person and the situation.
And people that come to you with physical stuff, like physical, pain or
Mhm.
illness, um, what can they expect after the session? So they have some release. What will they see afterwards, or what will they notice afterwards?
Well, I like you said, when you go into a state of relaxation and healing, obviously your tension shifts, so you will feel a relief of, let's say, a chronic pain or something, or an illness. And very often, right after the session, what will happen is it can take up to several days. Maybe headaches, because toxins have been removed. The energy is flowing again. It can be that you become quite emotional, and maybe suddenly somebody who hasn't been able to cry for years will suddenly finally have that release and be able to cry it all out. That can happen. It can be a little bit lightheadedness, or it can just be not noticeable anything, but just a general feeling, better feeling inside. Now, I think, like with all healing sessions, quite often there is an accumulation of issues that come to a manifestation of a pain or a problem. So most of the time, one session won't release the whole issue, but it will help. And that's why I think it's important to reconnect and to look at, okay, we've done the session now, like you would call it in your sessions, I love it, your homework. What will be beneficial for you to do now, or maybe start taking herbs, or drink a special tea, or a special exercise, so that you can keep that good feeling and keep that flow, and healing can have its time, because the body will eventually heal itself, but it takes time. It's not like an instant fix. What we're all expecting these days, it's not like
Yeah.
ordering something on Amazon and it's there in the evening.
Yeah. Um, I was going to ask a question, and wait, it's just disappeared. I wanted to know: is there anything that you? Okay, I remembered. Earlier, you mentioned that we need to be ready to release things for these things to release. So I guess that sometimes someone can come to you and you will feel that there is some resistance in releasing these things. How do you explain this and what do you do with that?
Well, I usually let the subconscious do the work, because a person that is often not aware of changing or thinking, no, I don't need to change, that very often is a matter of the ego, the mind, which we all have, and it's the left brain, and that's always the most powerful, the most dominant. But by working with people and tapping into the subconsciousness, that's where the messages will come up. And so the person, if you do a healing session, we work with the subconscious soul level. So whether or not you're aware of you need to shift or you want to shift, a shift will happen. And obviously that's where the decision needs to be made. I would like to have a healing session because I don't know how to shift it myself, but it's without too much thinking or knowing or theory, it's just to let the energy and the quantum field do the work, release what can be released at that moment. But the person needs to want it. I mean, there are some persons that totally not ready, and I have had clients, yeah, you can do body work, but I give you an example from a long time ago. This was in my home practice, where a gentleman, he had all kind of pains and aches in his body, but his organs were all full of toxins. Because then I came to the core. He was drinking, let's say, a liter of Coca-Cola every day. So I said, I'm happy. I will like to help you, but first you need to stop drinking your Coca-Cola, because, it's like bringing bucket of water to the ocean. If you're not going to change that habit, you can come every day, but it's not, a shift won't happen. So it has to come from two sides. That's very clear.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and I like that story. Thank you. Because I'm thinking back to some people that I worked with before, and I know that the way I explain things sometimes is that if someone comes to me and after 2 or 3 sessions I see that we're not where we should be, and even though I can't never promise people what they will get or how much shifting they will see,
Yeah.
I have an understanding of, or you know,
Mhm.
an inclination of where we should be. And if after 2 or 3 sessions we're not there, I can tell them that I really understand that their subconscious mind is holding on to the problem because it is believing that it is protecting them. So it's not ready to release it. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to go back and say, actually, really, what is the gift? What is it that you are getting by keeping the illness or the pain or the situation that you are at? And then that opens up. I mean, it's a conversation we anyway want to have, but this is helping us to focus it, very, very nicely. So it is interesting when you're saying you are able to release as much as is allowed, because if the subconscious mind is saying I need this, then it's not going
Yeah.
to release as as maybe people are initially hoping. I guess,
Yeah,
but
no. I think you're absolutely right, and I love how you say it as well. Because sometimes people like to hold on to this emotion, because that's what they need. That's what, and but that's food for the ego. So I think deep down the core is to get out of that left brain and get more into the right brain, because when we all start to tap into our own energy field, we will feel we don't need all that drama and pain, because it's all flow and love. And that's the state we want to bring people back to. And I'm also so happy and grateful we have so many coaches and healers out there, because sometimes a combination of different techniques will even bring a better result than just one person. So it's amazing, it's fascinating that we have the network. But yeah, to step into that energy field that we are around us, and there are nice little exercises where we can discover our own energy. I don't know if we have a little time, maybe we can do a quick one to just try together,
Sure.
shall we?
Sure.
So if the listener, it's just very easy. You can just sit still on your chair, your feet on the ground, solid, and you're just gonna now quickly feel your own energy that runs through your body by just putting your hands together, and you just wrap them very quickly over and over, and then you take a nice deep breath. Ah, and one more. Ah. And then you seize the motion and you hold your hands closely, and you might feel now already a tingling. And now you want to play with your energy field. You can move it a little bit outward and inward. You feel the pull. Do you feel it? I know.
I definitely feel it.
Yeah. So this is what the in the Taoism we call our own chi, our life force, our energy. And this is working with the ball of chi. It's one of our exercises we do with the qigong exercises, which I also share with my clients. And once we start to rediscover our own energy, our own body, because quite often people don't know their own body. I can't blame you, but some people don't even know where the liver is located. And by reconnecting within your own body, your vessel, your house, so much more care and love is going to go towards it. And that's where a shift can happen.
Mm, I love it. I love it. So we're nearly coming to the end, the end of a wonderful conversation together. But tell me, what kind of program do you have now for people if they want to reach out and find out more about you?
Yeah, great, lovely. Well, I love to connect with people from all over the world for the remote healing sessions, which usually take altogether about an hour and a half. But what I also found out, actually, over the past year, I was thinking more and more about it, that and doing work on myself as well. Obviously, I constantly keep working on myself. It's more the walk your talk approach that I have. And I found that you really start to feel a shift after an extended period of time. And research has shown that a human being can do already shifts after 21 consecutive days of shifting mindfulness. So I come up with a new coaching program, the Shine Your Light Journey, where I will give a guiding hand to people during 21 days to really help you move that shift, especially going from the left brain to the right brain, and rediscover your own strength and power. So for everyone stuck. So within that package is a variety of things. Obviously, we have two healing sessions in the beginning and towards the end. If necessary, we'll throw one in the middle. And then daily, I will connect with either WhatsApp. I'll throw different videos in. I will guide with breathing exercises, meditations. Someday it can just be a very informative little text or an inspirational quote, so that every day you're reminded on that shift of awareness and where you put your focus to on that day. So that's a new program. And then quite often you see that it's just that push to then, after those 21 days, you have a major shift also with the healing sessions to continue your life then in that different lifestyle, which brings that beautiful change. So yeah, that's the new plan.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. So of course, later on uh, when the chat is published in all the podcast channels, all of your contact information and the links will be there. So people are very welcome to get in touch and take you up on this healing program, which sounds wonderful. So I'm
Wonderful.
just before we finish, what is one message that you would like people to take away from this session today?
Yeah, so to obviously never give up, don't look outside but inside, and everybody has a power. It's that shining light in the heart we all have as human beings, and the possibility to remove the dust from it and to come back in your own strength. And then life is just gonna flow on all levels. It's gonna be relation, it's gonna be finances, job, whatever. Yeah, that's really, don't give up that belief and just focus. Be mindful where your focus, your thoughts go on, because that's so powerful. And reach out to any of all these wonderful healers around the world, and the nature, plants, animals as well. Because on the last note, I just want to quickly mention that I also do energy healing with animals, and I just find it fascinating, the connection with humans and animals, how much healing that can already bring. So there's so many ways where we can find hope and make those shifts for a better world altogether.
Yes. Wonderful. And thank you so much for being here with us
Thank
today and sharing
you,
all your
Anna.
wisdom.
Lovely. Thank you for the time, and everybody on the podcast. Merry Christmas and a happy and beautiful New Year.
Wonderful.
Thank you.